Fairy with Horns. Here we begin with a beautiful story by Ruskin Bond. Let us go with Ruskin Bond, with the author, the taking the form of a narrator, and from narrator being a small boy, we are going on a journey. Let us see what the journey is all about. So here it starts with, though grandfather provided the household with as large a variety of pets as one could wish for, my own favorite was a little black goat who followed me home from the mustard fields one day. So definitely it is centering around, the plot of the story centers again around an animal, a pet. So here the first character which is introduced is grandfather, followed by my. So the first paragraph or the beginning lines of this lesson deals with the introduction of three characters, you can say. You have a grandpa over there, a small boy, and the goat, which is also described over there, a black goat and following. So let us see what is the journey about this characters and how the story unwinds from there. Each year, before the monsoon rains came, the little Song River was a narrow stream. I liked wading across it. So this was his pastime before the monsoon rains used to come pouring down. There was this little boy who liked to cross the stream, wander in the fields, tea gardens. So basically, he is a nature lover. And in Ruskin Bond's most works, you can see more close to nature. He's a nature lover. So here again, he has mentioned, he has brought the nature in the books, and he used to watch the men moving about, the yellow mustard, and the women in their red saris. Even the description of the color of sari is also given here, picking tea leaves. So I had been sitting on the band of it should be bank, or ideally bank of a small irrigation channel, and what so canal, and what was this boy doing? He was staring at herons. Now herons is what? It's large water birds. He that little mind must have wandered looking at those birds. There must have been many questions popping up also. And suddenly he felt something very close to him, something just coming and hitting his elbow, but in a very mild way of hitting, as if someone was trying to be very close to him, needed protection, needed shelter. Looking around, what he found, a little goat. So here the character 3 comes in picture, the goat comes in picture, and the goat is described as jet black velvet and lovely gray eyes. So the first paragraph starts like this, where the characters are introduced, then then the little boy is telling you about the nature, then what was his favorite pastime. He's describing that in short, and towards the end of the paragraph, the introduction of the goat, and the goat is described as jet black, velvety skins, and not only that, large, lovely gray eyes. So all this combination is given. Now let's see from here on the journey of these three characters, and is there some more characters also coming in this story? Let's see. Neither her owner nor her mother was around. So first thing is, the boy was looking around. Is somebody searching for the goat? So he was looking around. So he couldn't see anyone running and coming in search of the little goat. She continues to nudge him. She continues to pull him like very gently. So what does this little one do? Little boy, he was searching. Is there something he could offer to the goat? Maybe the goat is hungry after traveling so much, or it must have been on a journey. Thinking so many things, the boy searches in his pockets, and luckily he finds a ginger biscuit, and he gives it to her, and she eats it with relish, like she enjoys that biscuit and she eats it. And then maybe the goat also felt, the baby goat must have felt that this boy is very safe, he's offering me food, and there is a warmth around him. And the goat sat beside the narrator and started munching its favorite grass. It started nibbling at the grass. And a little later, when it was time up, the boy decided, now it's time I go back home. He got up. And when he got up, the goat also got up. And when the boy started walking home, he saw that the little one is following him. So her thin legs taking her this way and that. So she was moving around zigzag, the way her legs were carrying the goats, seeing the safety in between hopping, popping, and following the boy. Go home. Like there was a command given by this boy, imperative sentence, like go home. I said as she danced around me. But she followed me to the riverbed. It was obvious that her trembling legs would not stand up to the current. So, wherever this boy was going, just like that we have heard in our lower classes, Mary had a little lamb kind of. So, here this boy was being followed by the goat, and suddenly there comes a river. So now they had to cross the river, and the boy immediately thought about the goat. Okay, my God, since the goat's legs are so thin and it's trembling and it doesn't have the strength to cross the current, let me do one thing. Let me carry it and help it to cross the other side, and maybe I can decide then what has to be done. So the boy carries the goat and very safely crosses the other side. And the moment he reaches other side, he gently places the goat on the land, and he starts walking. And again, this goat is still following. Then what this little boy thought, let me walk in a little speed, because anyhow the goat doesn't have the strength, so the goat may not be able to catch up with my speed. But he was mistaken. The goat started hopping more and following him till the house. He did not have a problem in accepting the goat as it is. She There was nothing I could do but carry her in there was nothing I could do but carry her in present to grandfather. So his escape was grandfather. He wanted to take uh, him to grandfather. Not another pet, said grandmother when she saw the goat on the veranda lapping a saucer of milk. So the grandmother gets very angry on seeing one more member joining the pet family. So she said, not one more. I can't take care of this one also. I have told both of you. Both of you means she has been trying telling grandfather and the boy not to entertain such kind of animals, because she may be having her own reasons. It's very easy to bring in, but you need to take care. You need the health, you need the money to take care of the animals also. So maybe thinking about all that, she gave that message again. She repeated that message that I can't tolerate one more animal in the house. How many times I have told you all this? So she says it, and the boy was actually scared about grandmother because she has been giving this instruction. So he was worried, if I take this goat again, my grandmother may get angry. So what should I do? So it's better I take the help of my grandfather and tell him the matter. Maybe he would help me. And grandfather loved animals. From the story, it is very clear that grandfather loved animals a lot. So the boy sees his grandfather as an escape method, like, somebody to hold on to get support so that he could keep the goat. It was grandfather who usually brought home various animals. Like I had already mentioned earlier, also, grandfather was a lover of animals. So he used to get various animals. And slowly, slowly, this boy also started developing the love for animals. But he was somewhere scared that if he would go against the instruction given, she would send him to boarding school, which he didn't want to go. So he knew that his grandfather would be the only one to support him even at that time. So, grandfather being his very good friend, also, he took the support of his grandfather. And grandfather put it in a very nice way. Grandfather says to the grandmother that goat's milk is very good for rheumatism, because she was suffering from rheumatism, pain in joints. So, saying that, she didn't say anything. She understood that they wanted to keep it, but she took it. She must have taken it positively. So the goat was allowed to stay with them. So my goat was soon named Tinkerbell after the fairy in Peter Pan. There was something of the fairy in Tinker. She skipped around very gently, and her feet seemed equipped with springs, like she was hopping. Springs means like it's look at the comparison. The comparison over here is equipped with springs, like she was jumping when she leaped around the lawn. It didn't touch like you see the ball springing up and down when you're tapping it. You have seen the movement of the ball, just like that. The little one's feet was tapping. To make the name even more fitting, I tied a little bell to her neck so I'd always know by its tinkling where she would be. So to find out where my little goat is, the little boy tied a bell around it so that on that tingling of that sound, the author would come to know where the goat is. She loved an early morning walk and was in many ways a better companion than a dog. She didn't wander off on her own or get into quarrels with cats or stray dogs. She was very busy in her own world. The only thing she chased were butterflies, and she would tumble into ditches. She would fall because she was so focused in her work of chasing the butterfly. She didn't realize what is in front of her. She would fall, she would get up, and she had her own fun time and mischief time. But grow fast, and unlike Peter Pan, Tinkle, Bell, and the fairies, Tinker had to grow up. Those were imaginary stories and fairy tales, kind of. So that story version is different. But this goat was slowly growing up, and in that process of growing up, there grew a beautiful pair of horns. Her appetite began to increase too because she was so busy, she was so active, and she was growing. So the body needed more fuel. So she was eating very nicely. She loved the leaves and flowers of the sweet pea, the nasturtium and the geranium. These were and somewhere unfortunately these were also grandmother's favorite, so she used to take good care of them. And when you take good care of something, you don't like it being spoiled or damaged because your entire focus is on that. And here the little goat loved loved those, so she used to nibble on those leaves, maybe the flowers which used to come, she used to nibble on that. So there are chances of a clash. Now let's see what happened over there. One morning we found most of the sweet peas destroyed. Hurriedly, very fast, grandfather and I blamed a cow, suggesting that it had got into the garden during the night. Grandmother made no comment but gave a look that suggested she knew just who the culprit was. She very well knew. See, those are very experienced eyes and they know. So she knew that who has done this mischief. Because that was her favorite plant too. She was taking care of that, and then she saw that it was destroyed. So grandfather covered it up, saying that the cow had got in and did all this damage and all that. But somewhere grandmother knew, but she kept quiet. Of course, trouble just like unseasonal rain came when we were least expecting it. They thought, okay, the matters are settled now. Grandmother is also fine. There comes another problem. Tinker, having discovered the uses to which she could put her horns, began using them at almost every opportunity. There's something new which sprang up on her head. She wanted to experiment that also, children. She wanted to see where all it could be used, and she tried using it more often. The gardener, the postman, the fruit seller all had complaints to make because she would go with those pointed horns, and if she would try to play her mischief over there, they dared not turn their backs on dear little Tinkerbell. The moment they turn, here she would come running with that two horns to pierce them. The climax came during the visit of one of my aunt. Now all hell bent loose because here comes the turning point. Aunt Mabel, another character to the story, Aunt Mabel was in the habit of bending over flower pots and holding brief conversation with the flowers. She loved talking to them. She felt that they responded. She felt that they grew better if she would talk to them, that personal connect, if she would maintain with them, they would grow. She said it helped them grow faster. She was bending over a pot talking to a geranium when Tinker, suspecting that my aunt was eating the leaves, decided to butt this intruder out of the way of her favorite snack. So here, look at the confusion it creates. She was bending over like she was talking to them, but Tinker, the goat, thought that, oh, she's also eating my favorite snack, so I better not allow her to just come one fine day and eat what I like the most. So what I'll do is I'll give her a good punishment for lifetime, so that she never thinks about eating my favorite snack. So he goes to her and she's bending over. You can imagine what the scene is, children. She's ready with her pointed horn, those newly grown pointed horn. She goes and gives a nice prick on her butt. So we can imagine what happened after that. Aunt Mabel, she did not take it. It is natural. The reaction towards the animal, she did not like what was done, and she said, "This is very dangerous. So it's better. It shouldn't be staying with the family. It doesn't deserve to be a family pet anymore." So she tells the cook to take it to the market and sell at any price to the first customer who comes that way. So she definitely, Aunt Mabel definitely relates the incident, and Aunt Mabel gets angry, and that was her immediate reaction to take the goat away and sell it to the first customer at whatever price you get. So I stood at the gate and watched poor Tinker being taken away. So there he had no choice. He could not fight because after all he was a small boy. And what happened and the complaint. So he couldn't say anything. And he could only see that the goat is being taken away, and the goat kept on looking behind and crying out the name that don't take me away, and thinking that why my owner, why my master is not accompanying me. This could be the thought process, is what the writer feels. The writer waved and hoped that the next owner would be kind. Then the cook came back. He said the tinker had been sold. So that after coming back from the market, the cook says that the mm goat has been sold. But later, when I was alone with him in the kitchen, he told me that he had bought the goat himself and that I could come and see. So then later, Tinker had been sold, but when I was alone with him in the kitchen, he told me that he had bought the goat himself, and that I could come and see Tinker from time to time in her new home. So that was a good news for the child, because he says, don't worry, I have kept the goat with me, so whenever you want to come and see, you can always come and see, okay? And behind the bazaar is a new home. You can see it anytime you wish to see. I did visit Tinker sometimes, and in due course I found her with a little kid. Tinker had become a good provider of milk, and the cook's family was pleased with her. So there was this new owner. Who was the new owner, children? Yes, rightly guessed. The cook was the new owner, and she was very happy over there. She gave birth to a little one, and she was keeping that family, cook's family, very happy. She was a good provider of milk, so they could fetch a lot of good money also from the market. She was on good terms with everyone. She no longer did that mischief when she was small, and only butted strangers who bowed too low when given the customary salam. So the Ruskin Bond ends the story with a little hilarious, with a little funny line saying that it was not that her mischief was completely gone. Even later in life, towards the end of the life, she used to have that act of butting. She butted the strangers when they bowed too low, and that used to trigger her that she has to do the mischief again. So this is a story all about, there is a love for the animals, the protection for the animals, thinking that even they have attachment, love. When you shower them with that, they do give it back to you. So this is the message all about: love everybody, accept everybody, whoever you can. That's the story. It's again a beautiful story. The main, I think, the takeaway of this story is the language, the rich language used by Ruskin Bond over here, starting with the nature, then the characters, the grandparents. So many beautiful characters came in and went. The nature is described so beautifully. So basically, it is more inclined to a nature, to a nature lover, keeping that nature lover audience in mind. I think the story is dedicated to. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.